Hello everybody, this is BB True Crime episode number 34.
That is right.
That is, I can count.
Wow.
Contrary to popular opinion. I am Becky.
I am Beth.
And we are here for a long one, lads. This is a long one.
That was an estimate. I mean, it's a serial killer and they tend to be a bit
Honey,
longer,
your shorter one was an hour and 15 minutes, right?
You know how we get.
So this is going to be like 2 hours.
Within the first few minutes you were talking about buses.
Because you said 33.
That's what episode we were on.
Okay, well, just sprung some... Don't get at me. You're the one who started this sidetrack. Just saying.
Yeah, that way, yeah.
Right?
Fair enough.
Anyway, all I'm saying is it's going to be a long one, peoples. So give us a pause. Grab some brews. I already made the brews because I make great brews.
I am so full.
I have sweeties because I have the snacks right now, even though I've just eaten an entire meal and some sushi.
Yeah.
I'm getting the snackies, so I have a bag of Haribos. Forgive me if you hear the rustle, but understand that they're Haribos and I can't do anything about it. If you've ever had Haribos, you know the struggle.
I'd hope America and other countries have Haribos.
Oh, America does Haribos so well, right? Times Square, there is a Haribo store that is 3 stories big. Jesus. I lost my fucking mind. Right next to it, an M&M store, just as big. My dad nearly lost his mind.
Yeah, but like I feel
incredible.
Like you would, you'd know where to find me in the Haribo store. If not in the Tangfastic department, then it is in the Love Heart department.
You like the cherries? Do you like the cherries?
Yeah, well, like the tangies.
The tangy cherries, obviously.
Yeah. So either or.
Bro, they have just been buckets. You know when we went to the outlet?
Yeah. And
there was a Haribo store there, and you could just scoop all of the...
Yeah.
Honey, they have, like, buckets, like 20, 30, 40 litre buckets.
I feel like the little tiny tub, this is a tangent, a little tiny tub is, like, the most I, like, my adult mind is, like, probably shouldn't need more than that, because, you know, adults. But then the demon part of me is like, more.
Honey.
More.
You're talking to somebody who bought 6 boxes of Jaffa cakes with my adult money. 6 boxes. In my defence, they were in Sainsbury's and they were 80p a box, and everybody knows how expensive Jaffa cakes are. So 80p for a box of Jaffa cakes is a fucking steal.
At the minute, they're alright price in most places. You can get them all
they went through a phase where they were like hella fucking expensive. Like Jaffa cakes like a premium item. I was like, this is fucking scandalous.
Well, I'll tell you what's gone up though, and it's hard to find decent price Nutella, and I need to replenish my supply. And you best believe I ain't paying £7 for a jar of Nutella. Fuck you.
£7 for a jar of Nutella.
Right. Obscene.
That's robbery.
Right.
That's robbery.
Right.
That's
so that can wait.
Damn.
Right.
You need to take out a mortgage for a jar of Nutella these days.
Not me, though, because I ain't doing it.
Have you seen a pot of Pringles? It's over £3 now. Like the big...
Yes, I have seen that, and that is why I bought a baby one. But it still cost me nearly £2. So
do you know what the incredible thing is, right? I bought a big tube for £2 a couple of days ago, and I saw your tiny tube, and I was like...
Yeah, it was, but then it was also like them shops that are in train stations.
Oh, yeah. Overpriced.
Yeah. I was limited options.
You for every penny that you have in your pocket.
So now we've spent the first 4 minutes talking about literally nothing to do with the episode. You're welcome. This is what you came here for. You know us by now, right? You ain't playing games. We're in the 30s of episodes. We're on season 2, baby.
We are.
Technically.
We are.
I decided 30 was the end of season 1, and now we're on season 2, baby.
But if we're going by episodes, it would be 24. Because American TV shows are 24 episodes per season. So technically, actually, we're on season 2, episode 10.
Well, according to where I host the episodes, we're on season 2, like episode 3 or 4 now. This is 4, I believe. But anyway, you know, you've been through like more than 30 episodes of this. You know what we're like.
You know the tangents, you know the debates, you know the talks.
And you know what, you eat it up.
Right,
so...
let me tell you something, Beth. Is there any warnings we need to give on the subjects On the subject of you know what you're getting yourself into, I feel like we need to just give out a trigger warning if there's any warnings.
It's John Wayne Gacy,
Oh.
aka known as the Killer Clown,
Yay.
Pogo the Clown, whatever. So general triggers.
Serial killer warning.
He liked his little boys.
Oh,
Not like little boys,
young
but
men.
like
young men.
Young men, yes. So I'd like to comment that's not a trigger for like homosexuality. By the way, it's just general serial killer, murdery, torture, standard stuff, but nothing. I say nothing too horrific, but
nothing explicit.
Nothing crazy explicit. No,
nothing crazy. When she adds a caveat, nothing
maybe
crazy.
A trigger for maybe a little bit of no rape.
Maybe. But that's either a yes or a no.
It's some people aren't bothered by it. You know what I mean? Like some people, when it comes to serial killers, it's like just part of the. You might have it as part of the.
That is that is an amber flag.
Yes, but not a red one. So we're gonna put it in.
We're gonna put it in there.
You're right. Most of you know who John Wayne Gacy is.
Use your judgment. Use your judgment.
This is on you, but also love you. So.
You know what you're doing with your life.
Yes. So
more than I do, anyway.
Let's get into the bad man. All right. Okay. So, I also want to comment.
Oh God.
If you didn't watch the last episode to the end, some of it, because it was such a long episode, some of the content had to be cut down to make it an actual human length episode.
Yeah, because my ass ain't sitting here for 3 hours, right? I got ADHD. I can't handle that.
Yeah. So,
we have to give me fidget space for these episodes because I moved to about 20 different positions during one episode.
It's understandable. But yeah, so if you're going to be like, oh, you missed out, like, this bit, no, I didn't. I purposely left out some bits that I were like, listen, we'll do like a little mini episode.
Yeah, we'll do a little mini episode to include the stuff we didn't put in this one.
Yeah, basically.
But
because we ain't got time.
We're not here for an extended edition sitting of Lord of the Rings here, alright? We don't got time for that shit.
Don't get me wrong. It's going to be long enough already.
Honestly.
So, let's just crack on, right? Alright. So, John Wayne Gacy is a name obviously common to a lot of households for all the wrong reasons.
It is. It is.
A notorious serial killer. And serial rapist of boys. Slash men. Infamous for his crimes, but what are the reasons for his crimes?
Honestly, why is John Wayne Gacy John Wayne Gacy?
Was he made or born to be the monster he turned out to be?
What newspaper did you get that out of?
Oh, I wrote that myself.
Did you?
I did. Okay, right? It's been a while since I wrote things, alright? But I did that.
That was beautiful.
I could have made that sound fancier.
That was incredible.
I was like, let's get straight to the fucking point.
This is a debate of nature over nurture.
This is an exploration.
This is
of what the fuck was going on in his mind, because at some points he had it all, and then was like, you know what? Let's go diddle some little boys and maybe kill them. So
never ever say the sentence "diddle some little boys" again.
So I don't know where I keep seeing that word in videos, and I'm just like, it's just in my brain.
Diddling this, diddling that, diddling the other.
Yeah.
Stop diddling. No more to the diddles.
You tell him that. Sorry, he's dead now.
He's dead. He's not diddling anybody anymore.
Thank God. So let's go into his very murky background, because like the last one where there wasn't as many trauma responses and things.
This man is an alphabetical.
This man's gone through some stuff, right?
Okay.
Mainly daddy issues, but who doesn't?
I'm just saying. I still stand by mummy issues bringing like the more dangerous predators on standing. On average, I feel like mummy issues is the source of more issues.
I feel like, I don't know, it depends on what they are and how bad they are. They could both be as bad.
Mummy issues.
Okay. Right, so he was born March the 17th, 1942. Alright?
42?
Yeah, he's been dead for a bit of time now.
God!
Yeah.
Oh my God, he's a boomer. No wonder he's fucked in the head.
Well, probably didn't help. He was the second of 3 children and the only son of John Stanley Gacy and Marianne Elaine Robson.
Okay.
His father was an auto repair machinist and a World War One veteran.
Yeah, there we go.
And his mother was a homemaker. Fine.
Got it. Stay at home mum. Love that for her.
Gacy was close to his mum.
Okay.
And his 2 sisters.
Okay.
But had a very difficult and tumultuous relationship with his father. Which, you see a lot in these kind of cases.
Daddy issues.
Yeah. It's one parent, usually. Who was an alcoholic and verbally and physically abusive to his family. Verbally. Yes, that is what I said.
Oh.
And, you guys deal with it.
At least you're not saying Japanese names badly anymore.
Or at least I've taken a break from that for the second. And yeah, we are back in America. So, the oldest Gacy, the father, often belittled his son. Would call him dumb, stupid, or very verbal things, and beat him from the age of 4.
That is...
But wasn't just him, it was the whole family.
Okay.
The mum and the 2 sisters also.
So everybody was beat equally?
Yes.
Was everybody belittled equally, or was it just...
we'll get into it, and it's... John probably got it worse because he was the only son, and I guess felt more of an obligation to step in between the dad and the mum and the sisters.
Fair. White knight syndrome.
Yeah, kind of. Clearly that. And, well...
Roger that.
His mother did try and shield her son and obviously the other 2 children from the father's abuse, but that resulted in accusations that more towards John, that he was a sissy and a mama's boy, and he had to deal with accusations that he would probably grow up queer. He did, but that's not the point. So in 1949, Gacy's father whipped him after him and another boy were caught sexually fondling a young girl.
Oh, so we're just
Straight
getting really young.
Yeah.
Okay.
So hold on, let me go back to see when he was born. 42, so he was 7. And him and the boy was already fondling another girl.
What I'm surprised with is the fact that it's a girl.
True.
Unless him and the friend like to do stuff to each other consensually.
Is it really consensual if you're 7?
Well, that's true.
It's a bit complicated, a bit
That's
of a grey
true.
area, isn't it? It's one that people don't really like to discuss.
Yeah.
For good reason.
Valid. 7-year-olds going at it is not an image I want in my head, and I've got it in my head.
I don't think, all, intercourse was happening, because I don't know how young that can be from.
Can't say I've ever asked.
No.
What is the youngest age a male can impregnate somebody?
Yeah, but do you know that the youngest child to be pregnant was, I think it was either 4 or 5.
That's terrifying.
Yeah, by her father. Yeah.
That's even more terrifying.
Yep. So yeah, anyway.
Sidetracked.
So that same year,
okay.
7-year-old, a family friend began to occasionally molest Gacy as well. So not only was he doing it to other children, he was getting it from a family friend.
Oi.
Yeah. So, big trauma already.
Yeah.
We're at 7.
We've had multiple already.
Yeah.
We've got beatings.
Yes, true.
Verbal
stuff,
abuse.
Yeah.
Belittling.
Yeah.
Fondling of others and being fondled.
Yes. Yeah, it's already a lot.
He's already at 7 and he's already at all that.
Yeah.
Joyce. Oi.
So, John actually never told his father about the family friend and the bad stuff going on there. Worried that his father would blame him for it, which, from what he sounds like, his father doesn't sound like the best man.
Highly plausible.
But despite their challenging relationship, Gacy did love his father and felt that he was just never good enough in his father's eyes. First of all, mood. Well, let's not go into my trauma. This is about John Wayne Gacy. All right.
Wow. Whips that out of there.
So, as we go more into his childhood, he was an overweight and unathletic child. All of his childhood.
Fair enough.
And also into adult life.
Fair enough.
Which is fair. Yeah, nothing horrific about that. But But
Man's just fat.
But he did also have a heart condition from a young age.
Which would have restricted a lot of physical activity.
Yes, and he was told to avoid sports, and it also gave him blackouts a lot.
Heart palpitations.
Yeah, not great.
Not fun.
So in 1960, he was 18.
Okay.
He became involved in politics, which is something, again, that went on through his adult life. That he actually got pretty far in, to be fair, before his crimes would often get him in trouble.
That's scary.
No, like I said, yeah, there's actually a famous picture of him shaking the hand of, I want to say, the First Lady. Yeah.
That was embarrassing.
That was before his crimes came out, and obviously she looks back at that like, not my proudest, fondest memory. But yeah, so...
I'm going to move this to you, because your foot is getting ever closer.
Sorry. So he began working in terms of politics as an assistant precinct captain for a local Democratic Party candidate.
Okay. Solid start. Yeah.
This led to, however, because, his father's just never happy with anything.
Ugh.
This led to more criticism from his father, who you'd think would be like, yeah, a job in politics, that sounds like a good thing.
Let me guess. Democratic Party is the problem.
He just called him a pansy.
Oh, okay.
A patsy. That same year, 18, Gacy's father bought a car. Sounds nice. However, he kept the vehicle's title in his own name.
Oh,
yeah.
There it is.
Until Gacy had fully paid for it, which, fair enough. However, well, obviously the paying back took several years, which, makes sense. And Gacy's father was often known to, like, confiscate the keys for, like, no reasons at all. And he needed the keys for his car to get, like, to his job and things.
Yeah.
So, like, that put, like, his job in jeopardy and stuff if he wasn't able to get the car.
I love a sabotage.
Yeah, so literally any time Gacy didn't do what his father asked or he annoyed him, he would just take the keys to this car. In April 1962, 20 I believe it was, Gacy ended up purchasing another set of keys. So if his father was on one, he still had a way to drive the car.
Logical.
Yeah. In response to finding out his son had bought another set of keys, his father secretly removed the distributor cap in the car so that the car just did not function anymore.
Wow.
Yeah, so we're on that petty level.
I love a petty controlling parent.
Yeah.
That's a bit traumatizing.
He actually kept the component for 3 days and, yeah, it was not a good time. So hours after his father replaced the cap finally in the car, Gacy had enough.
Fair.
Yeah, and left home. During this time, obviously, from like 4 till like 20, he's still getting beaten and verbally abused by his father. All this time. So yeah, Gacy left home and drove to Las Vegas, where he worked as a mortuary assistant for 3 months.
That's a shame.
But obviously got a bit suspicious thoughts. Which, if you're going down that path and you get those thoughts, maybe go talk to someone.
Shrinking time.
Maybe.
But do that. This is the 60s.
Maybe don't work in that job.
This is the 60s, though.
I don't care.
Like, I'm not excusing the thoughts by saying the 60s.
Oh, yeah, no, for sure.
I'm excusing the access to therapy in the 60s.
Oh, yeah, no, I understand. But maybe just
before anybody thinks that I think in the 60s it's okay to diddle corpses.
See, now you're using the diddling. See, it's kind of funny using it. It's kind of...
It is as well.
Scratches an itch.
Yeah.
Like, it makes it seem not as bad, but it is bad. Just FYI.
Very bad.
So, while he worked there for 3 months, he actually didn't have anywhere to live. So he actually slept in the embalming room amongst the corpses. As you do.
Red flag.
And later confessed that one evening.
Oh god, here we go.
Yeah.
Here we go.
It's one of those.
Can I just say, right, whenever Beth does that ... moment, she is side-eyeing an invisible person, right? She's just done it again, okay? She does a little side eye.
It makes me feel like I'm in the office and
Okay.
I'm looking into the camera.
It's her main character moment. She loves it. But she does a little side eye, and whenever she side eyes, I know that whatever she's about to say is absolutely outrageous.
Yeah, probably. Or just wild,
What's that?
generally.
What outrageous factoid are you about to tell me that's having you side eyeing the invisible audience?
He's already sleeping where the bodies are, right?
Is he fucking the bodies?
Well, he confessed that one evening,
Oh,
while
God.
alone,
Okay.
obviously.
Alright.
He climbed into the coffin of a teenage male and just laid there embracing and caressing the body before being like, what the fuck am I doing? And getting out. So,
Honestly?
if anyone's seen the second season of American Horror Story, you'll know exactly what bit I'm fucking thinking of, right? With the serial killer. Because I swear to God, low-key,
John
got
Wayne
a bit
Gacy.
to do with John Wayne Gacy a little bit there, right? But you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Babe, now's not the time. Okay, so
The man's trying to talk to her. It's not happening.
okay, we got some serious
Rejected.
disturbing men to discuss right now.
One man at a time.
Yes. This experience, this suspicious experience, prompted Gacy to actually be like, maybe I should leave this job. Good. I agree completely.
That's the first good decision he's made.
But decided to be like, yeah, maybe I need to return home.
Oh.
Yeah, maybe not the best decision.
Yeah. It was going so well.
So in 1964, how old is he, like 24,
Yeah.
roughly? The company transferred him to Springfield, Illinois, to work as a salesman. And eventually, he ended up being promoted to the department manager. You know, he was very, like, outgoing as a man.
Okay.
You know, he did very good in those sort of jobs that require confidence, like sales, politics, those kind of people-y jobs. It was surprisingly charismatic to a good degree. So in those kind of jobs, he did quite well, actually. He got pretty far. So in March of the same year, he actually had his first engagement.
Oh.
Yeah, like I said, he's doing pretty well.
No. I thought he was gay.
He is.
Oh.
Yeah.
Got it.
It was the 60s, you know.
Got it.
Not really the right time to be like...
Homosexuals on
Yeah,
homosexual.
they're not really like
Got it.
liked in that time.
That's valid.
So...
That's valid.
And also, have you heard about his dad?
Also very valid.
Yeah. So, yeah. And maybe it was also maybe a bit of denial. After the corpse incident. What a
I feel
normal
like
sentence.
caressing a dead young man is...
Be like, oh, that was a bit gay. Maybe let's tone it down a bit. Yeah.
Gay wasn't what I was focusing on. It was the near necrophilia.
Also true. But I guess in that moment, I don't know if it was to do with the necrophilia. I don't feel like it was. I feel like it was more like...
The boy. It was a boy.
Yeah, he was alone to express something he's not really been able to. I feel like that's the vibe it gave me.
I like a moment of self-expression, but not cuddling dead bodies.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that.
I'm all for self-expression, but I feel like that's a bit too far.
I agree.
Yeah.
So yeah, he became engaged to a woman called Marilyn Myers.
So you're about to say Marilyn Monroe there.
No, I was not. Thank God.
Honestly.
Who was a co-worker of his.
Cute office romance.
Yeah. During their courtship,
Oh.
Gacy joined, so basically in America at that time, you had these little political sort of all-boys groups, and this one was called the JCs.
Okay.
So he joined his local group of JCs.
Okay.
You know, they're very all lads, you know, the political, they want to make change.
All American good old US of A boys making political moves,
community
and changing the future.
And that kind of thing.
Got it.
So
Power to the people and all that.
he did very well in this group.
Okay.
But during that same year he got engaged to Marilyn, he had his second homosexual experience. So he was doing a bit of the diddly on the side, secretly.
Self-exploration on the side.
Gacy had a side hoe.
Except the way he does it is not quite nice or receptive, let's say. I'm trying to be very polite with this, and honestly, I'm like, why?
I feel like the word you're looking for is non-consensual.
A bit, yeah. Bit rapey.
Yeah.
Bit diddly, yeah.
Yay.
So according to Gacy, and obviously the thing is, with Gacy, obviously I mentioned in the previous episode when I was explaining why we have to cut out some bits, but...
He's very open about it?
Yes, he was very talkative even after he got caught.
Okay.
So once he got caught, I don't know if it was for attention or what, but he loved to talk about his crimes in detail. So there's different documentaries, there's different interviews in jail, there's the John Wayne Gacy tapes that he recorded.
I suppose in some way, like, if you know you're caught, you're not going to get attention anymore for, like,
yeah, but
the mystique.
I feel like lots of serial killers go either way. They'll either never talk about it until the day they die.
Yeah.
Or even after that. Or they will just spill everything.
Yeah.
Because, like, well, who knows?
But some people, I feel like, it's either mysterious or you capture people's attention by being so blatantly obvious about it.
But then on the other hand, when they talk about it, you've also got to keep in mind a lot of this is coming from what they're saying. And how much of what they're saying is true and can be believed and or isn't exaggerated. So...
That is true.
So according to
Or
Gacy...
under-exaggerated,
yes.
as the case may be.
A colleague in the JC's group actually piled him with drinks and then invited him to spend the evening on his sofa.
Okay.
The colleague apparently to him this was kind of consensual. The colleague then performed oral sex on him whilst he was drunk. By 1965, so about 25 now, Gacy had risen to the position of vice president of the Springfield JCs.
That's impressive.
Yeah, and was named the third most outstanding JC member in the whole of Illinois. Like I said, he did.
This is a charismatic bugger.
Yeah, when he put his mind to certain things like that, he did actually pretty well.
Where did it all go wrong?
Well, early days it sounds like. So Gacy and Myers then married in September 1964.
Okay.
Marilyn's father was quite well off, money-wise, and he actually purchased 3 KFC restaurants, Marilyn's father, in Waterloo, Iowa.
Love KFC.
And so the couple moved to Iowa so that Gacy could manage the restaurants. Therefore, man got rich real fast.
Yeah.
So then, after this, he opened a club in his basement of his house for KFC employees / JC members so that they could drink alcohol and play pool.
Okay.
As a bit of a boys' basement, if you will.
It is a bit of a lad's lad.
Yeah.
Move.
Like a man shed kind of thing, but in the basement.
Oh my god.
So
man cave.
Man cave, that's the word.
Man
Yes,
cave.
that was it. So, although Gacy, obviously, in the KFC restaurants, employed, obviously, teenagers of both sexes, he only socialised with the males.
He only molested the boys.
True. True. You're right. So Gacy gave many of them alcohol. This is for the boys. Yep. Before he would then start making sexual advances on them.
Oh.
Yeah. If they rebuffed him, he would claim that his advances were jokes or he was just testing them to make sure they weren't gay. Obviously.
I need to employ that. Beth, are you gay?
A bit.
God.
A little bit.
How did I not know that?
Baby, you should know that.
I do know that. It's okay.
Also, that made it sound like we were really gay then for each other. And maybe so. Let's keep the mystery going. Who knows?
Who knows?
Our families think so a little bit.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
My uncle's disappointed that he didn't get to make a wedding cake.
I give it time. Still might.
She says that she's in a relationship with a man.
Yeah, it's alright. The wedding. Don't worry about it. Same date. Let's go.
I'm not sharing.
I do.
I'm not sharing.
You already are.
No.
We got married first.
I was here first.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I'm not the one sharing. He is.
And accepted it.
He even called himself the side piece, which I was quite impressed by. Man knows his place already.
True. Yeah, as he should. So, Gacy's wife actually gave birth to his child, one, to a son in February 1966. Two. And a daughter in March 1967. Gacy described this period when he was asked about it later in life. He described the period of his life as perfect.
This is when it all goes downhill, isn't it?
Yes,
yeah.
And felt like he had finally earned his father's approval because he had money, he had successful businesses, he had a family,
beautiful wife, 2 kids,
house,
white picket fence and the dog.
Right. Yeah, just missing the dog.
The dog, honestly. The audacity. That's what you know is a red flag.
Where it's going wrong.
Yeah, no dog. If he was busy chasing a dog around, shitting in the park, he wouldn't have time to molest all those kids.
You'd hope so. But it'd probably still make time. So, and actually it was around this time when Gacy's parents visited in July 1966. His father actually privately apologised for his upbringing.
Whoa!
Yeah, I know. And the abuse that he'd suffered from his father.
Wow.
And he also happily said, "Son, I was wrong about you," and shook his hand. Wow.
Well, that's all the validation this man ever needed in his life.
It's all going to go downhill real fast, as if it already hadn't. Because the thing is, as soon as he starts having like a normal semblance of life, is doing well, he finds a way to just be like, you know what could make this spicy? My inner dark urges. And then acts on them. Whereas a lot of people just don't. He's like, you know what? Let's fuck up my whole life. Let's do it. And he did.
I love it.
Continuously.
Over and over and over again, he screwed the pooch.
August 1967. Man's 27, I believe. John Gacy has his first, if you don't count the girl when he was 7, or him
with
propositioning KFC boys. If you don't count that, this is his first actual assault he commits.
His first grape.
Yes.
Yes.
I don't know if it went full grape, but
assault.
Yes. Got it. So August 1967, he sexually assaults 15-year-old Donald Voorhees Jr., who was the son of Donald Edwin Voorhees, who was a local politician and a fellow member of the JC's group. Ballsy. He really picked him then.
That is a spicy move.
Yeah.
That's a risky one, isn't it?
Yeah, he clearly liked the risk. He lured Voorhees to his house with the promise of showing him heterosexual stag films, which were normally played at JC events that I'm assuming the son hadn't been able to attend, maybe because of his age.
Because, he was only a kid.
Yes. So he was like, yeah, you come to my house, I'll show you them, because, I'm a member of the group.
I'll show you
so the kid's like, hell yeah.
Porn time.
I'm being let in, and I'm seeing the stuff.
Oh, God.
So the kid goes to his house, and Gacy just gave him a shit ton of alcohol, which was a common thing you'll see. Allowed him to watch the movie, so they did actually watch it. And then persuaded the kid, I say persuade with
big quotation marks.
Yes, given, consent and ages. He persuaded him to engage in mutual oral sex and then said, you have to have sex with a man before you start having sex with women. Don't know what logic that is, but as a 15-year-old, kid went for it.
Not sure how I feel about that.
Yeah. So you were like, oh yeah, surely it's gonna stop there. No.
But I'd just like to say I never said it's going to stop there.
No, it's okay.
No,
Well,
never.
So, yeah. So over the next few months, I guess he got a bit of a taste for it.
Mm.
And knowing, I guess that, well, the kid didn't say anything.
Bro, that's a lot of power going to somebody's head very quickly.
Knowing he got away with it as well.
Yeah.
So he was like, well...
Yeah. I can do it once.
Get some more.
Why can't I do it again?
So he abused several other youths, including one that he encouraged to have sex with his wife before blackmailing him to also perform oral sex on him. He also tricked several teenagers into believing he was commissioned to conduct homosexual experiments for scientific research and would pay them up to £50 or dollars each.
He was pimping them, basically.
But yeah, but for himself.
For himself.
Yeah. And I guess, well, you try going to the police and be like, yeah, I did this gay thing with this man. I know I'm underage, but he gave me money for it. It's the 60s. I don't know how seriously they're going to take that.
Yeah. Probably not very seriously.
Yeah. Because it's kind of like prostitution-y in a way, isn't it?
Well,
like,
they didn't really give much of a shit of proper prostitution back then, did they?
No, not really. So, in March 1968,
okay,
Voorhees finally told his father, the first victim, finally told his father what the fuck had gone down there.
Father was not amused.
The father was like, right, popo time. So went straight to the police, and they arrested Gacy and charged him with performing oral sodomy on Voorhees and also the attempted assault of another 16-year-old called Edward Lynch.
Okay.
Gacy obviously very furiously denied the charges and demanded to take a polygraph test. The results of these tests were indicative of deception, but granted, I will point out, they're not the most reliable tests in the world, which is obviously why we don't still use them. It's
actually, like, proven that if you can convince yourself of a version of the truth...
Exactly, but also if you have things like anxiety, where you're going to be nervous anyway, that's going to show, like, deception.
Yeah.
So the whole thing is just, and it's also very easy to fake results. So, yeah.
Unreliable.
Yes, but either way, it did show deception. And so he was charged with sodomy. So August 30th, Gacy promised one of his employees, who was 18-year-old Russell Schroeder, £300 if he was to physically assault Voorhees so that he wouldn't testify in court for the charges. So
now he's hiring people.
Yes.
Nice.
To tamper with witnesses.
Okay. Witness tampering. I love
yes,
witness
and victims,
tampering.
yes. So Schroeder did lure Voorhees to an isolated park and sprayed mace in his eyes and then beat him up. However, Voorhees escaped and then also reported Schroeder to the police.
And Schroeder caved like a wet flannel.
Yeah, he was arrested the next day, started by denying what happened, but later did confess that he had been hired by Gacy. So, obviously, that did not help his case whatsoever.
Suspicious!
So the police arrested Gacy, officially, charged him with also hiring Schroeder to assault and intimidate the victim. At this point, the counsellor that was, like, the prison counsellor, assumed that he might have had something like antisocial personality disorder, but decided not to do anything about it because they thought treatment wouldn't help, and left it at that. So, mental health system back then was a grade.
A star.
Yeah.
A star.
10 out of 10 would go through again. So he got sentenced to 10 years.
Okay. I'm guessing he didn't serve 10 years.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
But he did serve quite a few years. During that time, his wife did divorce him. took the home and the kids. He never would ever see those kids again.
I was gonna say,
Thank
like,
God.
can you imagine being John Wayne Gacy's?
No, you best believe you'd be changing your surname, especially after what he would go on
My
to
whole
later
name.
do.
My whole name has
Yeah.
changed.
Because just think, right, he's already been jailed for sodomy, right? He's already been on sexually assaulting children. We've not actually gone on to his first kill yet, and let me tell you,
There's a lot of them.
he's one of the most prolific in America's history. Yeah. So take with that with a pinch of salt, because we're not in the deep end yet. This is his baby steps. And
This is his baby steps. He's already served 10 years.
He's already serving 10 years and molesting underage children. So, it's going great.
We are 40 minutes in, and we are still on baby steps.
Yep.
We're still on the
Not even on the cusp of the
night
killings.
Nightwalker version of torturing small animals.
Yes, I'm just surprised he didn't, well, at least not that I'm aware of. He might have done,
Look,
but like
I
I said,
can't-
I ain't got into it all.
Can't handle the kids and the small animals in
Yeah,
the same
there's only
person.
so much.
Right?
So, yes, but in prison...
He did very well.
He did do very well. So he actually became one of the cooks, and actually became the head cook. There's actually interviews that I can't remember who it was, but someone TV-wise went into the prison and was like interviewing inmates and stuff, and he got interviewed because he was doing so well in the prison and had such a good reputation, and they were talking to him about, like, you know, what's he going to do when he gets out and that kind of thing. So, however, Christmas Day, bad time, 1969, he must be about 29.
Okay.
His father died.
Oh, yay!
Cirrhosis. Don't know what the fuck that is. Didn't bother Googling it. Cirrhosis. Don't know what that is. Can't bother to Google it.
Anybody who knows what that is, drop us a message.
Yeah. Let us know.
Educate us.
When he was informed, obviously he was still in prison when this happened. When he was informed of his father's death,
Oh dear.
He collapsed to the floor sobbing.
Oh dear.
He attended for supervised compassionate leave to attend the funeral, but was denied.
Rip.
Yeah. So, June 18th, 1970, he was finally granted parole.
Oi.
For a 12 months probation
Okay.
period. And he served 18 months of his 10-year sentence. That's it.
There was you being like, you actually served quite a bit of it.
Nah, I guess I really thought you did.
Gaslighting.
No, he did
Gaslighting
not.
me. 18 months.
Wrong.
18 months.
Yeah. So, but
But
yeah,
to be fair,
12
can we just-
month probation.
Head cook in 18 months.
Yeah, no,
Less
that's quite
than that.
impressive, isn't it?
Less
Yeah,
than
see,
that,
I
if you
told you, he's weirdly, like, low-key, kind of charismatic, if he really puts his head to it.
Okay.
So,
Got it, he was capable of so much more.
well, yeah, he's proved that, you know. He is getting, obviously, he goes back into politics, even having this, like, criminal record for doing this kind of bad crime, like...
Oh, wait, so he had the sodomy conviction when he
Before.
when he shook the first
Oh,
lady's...
yeah.
That's embarrassing.
Yeah.
Got it, the White House didn't do their homework.
They're clearly not well enough. So, the conditions of his probation included things like a nightly curfew, you know, kind of standard probation, and that Gacy had to relocate to Chicago to live with his mother. So, on February 12th, 1971,
Okay.
he was charged, once again, shocking, for sexually assaulting a teenage boy who claimed that
my God.
he had lured him to his car at Chicago's Greyhound bus terminal and driven him to his home where he had attempted to force the boy into sex. However, the court actually dismissed the case when the boy failed to appear in court. Wonder what happened there.
So this time he was successfully intimidated.
Maybe.
Got it.
Yeah, lightly. On June the 22nd, same year, he was arrested again and charged with aggravated sexual battery and reckless conduct in response to a complaint filed by another youth who claimed that Gacy had flashed him a sheriff's badge, lured him into his car, and then forced him to perform oral sex. So now he's also pretending to be a cop. Basically.
What
to
the fuck?
get children. These charges were also dropped after the complaint. After the victim tried to blackmail Gacy.
Oh dear.
Don't know what for. Don't know why.
Intriguing.
But he did.
Intriguing.
So that got dropped. So somehow he's gotten out of another 2. And I'm pretty sure at this time he was still on probation. But they were like, so good.
Fine.
They weren't
You're
serious.
not
It's
actually
fine.
assaulting anybody.
So
Jesus Christ.
Gacy then bought a ranch-styled house
Nice.
at 8213 West Summerdale Avenue, which is in Illinois. He lived there until he was arrested in 1978 in December. And according to Gacy, swear he committed all of his murders. So.
Oh, where we getting? Oh.
We're getting closer now.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah.
Here we go.
So, he actually first came out as bisexual. Wise move there.
Yeah.
Especially for like the 60s, 70s.
That was cool. Bisexual was cool. Gay was not.
By this point, he was remarried.
By this point.
Wow. By this point, he was actually remarried.
Got it.
To a woman.
Okay. Thank you for specifying.
Yeah, but at this point, he had told her, listen, we're having sex one more time, and then that's it. We're never having sex again, because I don't want to. And she was like, okay, bit weird. Obviously, we all know the reason why. It's because he was homosexual.
Because he likes boys.
Yeah, a bit too much. So his wife's name was Carol. His second wife, anyway. She, after he had told her this, she had observed him bringing teenage boys into his garage, which I'm assuming was the new man cave, in the early hours of the morning. She also found gay pornography and various different men's wallets and IDs around the house. Finally, in October 1975, she had enough.
Okay.
And filed for a divorce.
Fair.
But bit of a time
jump
back into the past.
Oh.
1971, he actually made his own business. And it was a part-time construction business.
Okay.
And that would continue up until his arrest.
Okay.
So back to 1975, Gacy then joined the Clown Club.
Oh.
He didn't get paid for any of it. It was all just,
Awful.
equally to get close to kids.
Awful.
But yeah,
awful.
his, and he created his own characters, clowns. There was technically 2, but they were kind of the same. One was called Pogo the Clown, the other one was called Patches the Clown. He did his clowns a little differently than most. You can imagine like a lot of like round sort of shapes when it comes to clowns. His, for example, the smile had very pointed edges. He did his, I won't say spooky, but they were a little...
Horror.
They had a lot of edges that you won't really see on like your stereotypical clown. I don't know what the right word is. It wasn't... I mean, I guess for someone who's scared of clowns, it's creepy. But his was more...
Sinister.
Sinister, yes.
Whips that word out the bag.
But obviously at the time, no one really, guys looked at it that way.
Yeah.
But if you were to compare how most people would do clown makeup to how he did it, you'd notice straight away what I mean.
Yeah.
I've
got an image in my head,
yeah.
I see where you're going with it.
Like, if you were going to draw a horror clown, It'd probably be closer to that.
That's why I said horror.
Yeah. So.
Because the only
Tea time.
The only clown I've seen with, like, pointy smiles are the ones that straight out horror films.
Yeah.
It. I imagine he looks a lot like the clown from It.
The Terrifier. Don't think you've seen that.
But I've seen the posters for It.
Yeah, I guess, it's kind of closer to that.
A sinister vibe as opposed to a creepy vibe.
Yes. But yeah, he was very popular as the clown, and like I said, it's something he did, volunteering wise.
Because the time with the children was enough.
So, his construction workforce, we are getting closer to the killings now.
I'm ready.
His workforce consisted of high school students and young men.
Shocking.
Oh, I mean, it's construction, what do you think? But he would often preposition his workers for sex, obviously, a bit like when he did the KFC.
Yeah.
Or insist on sexual favours. And, he felt like he could because he was the boss.
Yeah, that's the worrying part.
Power play. So, 1973, Gacy and a teenage employee at his construction crew travelled to Florida to view a property that Gacy had purchased. While there, Gacy raped the employee in the hotel room.
Wait.
Straight in there. After returning to Chicago, the same employee drove to Gacy's house and beat him in his own front yard.
Fair.
Yeah.
Fair.
And basically was like, you ever touch me or try anything with me again, I will kill you, kind of thing. And you know what? Quite right.
Valid.
I
don't feel like anybody could say that was not.
But he never did that again to that kid. The others, not so much. In 1975, Gacy hired a 15-year-old Anthony Antonucci.
Yep.
2 months later, he went to Antonucci's home, knowing that the kid was a kid, 15-year-old, had an injured foot. So the two drank, hung out, drank a bottle of wine, watched a heterosexual stag film before Gacy
propositioned him for sex.
Gacy had, and you'll notice this as we go throughout.
An MO?
He had what was called a party trick that he could do with handcuffs. And it was a way to sneakily, very quickly, get handcuffs on someone.
And incapacitate them.
Yes. And he'd play it off like a magic trick, and he could do that because he was Pogo the Clown.
Mm.
So he could be like, oh yeah, it's magic, it's part of my act. But it wasn't. And it always never worked out great for the victim. And as soon as they got part of this trick, as soon as they agreed to see it, participate, that was it. Because he was not letting them go until either they had done something for him or they were dead.
Okay, alright.
So, this is the first time we think that he did it on someone, but again, we can't confirm.
Mm.
So
we've only got his word.
Yes. So this is the 15-year-old.
Okay.
With the injured foot. So they watch the little film together, and then Gacy decides to wrestle the injured kid to the floor, and he didn't. I don't believe he did the trick on him then, but he did use handcuffs. Wrestled him to the floor and cuffed his hands behind his back. However, one cuff was loose, and the kid actually managed to free his arm when Gacy was out of the room. When Gacy returned, the kid, who was actually a high school wrestler, so better watch out, you big fat shit.
You fucked up.
Yeah. Actually grappled him, despite,
the injury.
The injury and the fact that Gacy, it was a big guy.
Yeah.
Like, height-wise and weight-wise, like, he was always
on the large
tubby.
Side. Yeah.
Yeah. So, ballsy, first of all. As a 15-year-old. He grappled with him, managed to get the key, and then somehow fucking cuffed him.
Okay, that's impressive.
Yeah. With his hands behind his back. And then Gacy, despite now being cuffed, threatened the kid who then he managed to calm, and promised to leave him alone, and would just leave his house if the kid freed him. So the kid agreed, and he actually did leave.
Okay.
He actually continued. Oh, thank you, babe.
Haribos.
He actually continued to work for Gacy after this. Like, first of all, again, ballsy.
Also, hang on, we're having a Haribo break here.
For 9 months. 9 months he still worked for him.
Jesus.
And Gacy, obviously, knowing he very clearly lost that situation.
Yeah.
Made no further attempts to assault this boy.
That was an L. That was an L.
So during this time, and during a while through the murders, obviously, he'd been divorced, but he let an 18-year-old kid called David Cram live and work with him.
Okay.
So he got to live in the house and work in the construction business with him. He did attempt to assault this boy.
Of course he did. Of course he did.
But for some reason, this boy stuck around despite these attempts. For example, there was one time he was going to rape him in cuffs, but the kid, David, managed to free himself.
He's not very good at this cuffs thing, is he?
Not at the minute, no. But he does get a handle on it, unfortunately.
Oh.
He actually did try again with the same kid he was living with, but failed again.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
But yeah, obviously, during this time as well, that he was not only the clown, not only doing his construction business and doing kids, but he was also rising through the ranks of the Democratic Party. Again.
Fucking hell.
And it was around this time that he also met the First Lady.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
But now, the killings are about to begin.
Now we get to the juicy bits.
So, his first known killing.
Talk to me.
January the 3rd, 1972.
That's a bad way to start the year.
It is. It's a powerful way to start the year. He lured a 16-year-old Timothy Jack McCoy from Chicago's, and I'm just saying, whenever I hear Greyhound bus terminal, I never hear anything good about it.
Honestly, no.
There's so many cases I can think of where I've heard about Greyhound buses that I am alright never using one ever in my life.
The buses are fine. It's the terminals that are dangerous.
No, because there was that really famous case that didn't happen that long ago, where there was a guy that was, he was on, I don't know if he had schizophrenia, or if he was on drugs, but he was on something, and he'd sat next to this guy who was he'd fallen asleep on one of the buses, on a Greyhound bus, because he was travelling back home, see his family, and he was doing like a long bus ride. This guy had got on, and there was loads of other people, loads of seats free.
Yeah.
And there was either something wrong with him, or he was on drugs. He sat next to the guy that was asleep, and then just started attacking him. And obviously the bus stopped, and everyone got off. People tried to get to the guy who was being attacked, but then the guy would threaten them, like, with the knife.
Okay.
And then, so obviously they were waiting for, like, the police and stuff, and the guy ended up beheading the guy while he was still alive. Ate part of his head and face. Yeah. He's actually out of jail now, because I think he ended up going in like a psych hospital.
Okay.
And yeah, he's free now.
Let me tell you something.
Mental. Let's not go on a Greyhound bus.
Getting on a Greyhound bus.
Yeah, let's just not. Because that's where it all happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the most wild thing I've heard in a while.
Yeah. Yeah, so he was lured from Chicago's Greyhound bus terminal into Gacy's car. McCoy was on his way to his father's home in Nebraska, and informed Gacy that his bus wasn't until noon.
Big mistake.
Gacy then took McCoy on a sightseeing tour of Chicago, and then drove him to his home with the promise that he could spend the remainder of the time and the night at his house, and then Gacy would drive him back to the station in time to catch his bus at noon.
That is the most suspicious thing I've ever heard.
Well, it was either that or he would be sat in the cold throughout the night at this bus station.
I would rather sit in the cold.
I think that probably should have been the one the kid did.
Yeah. Let me tell you, right, if some random guy comes up to me and says, "Hey, yo, you've got to, wait 16 hours.
Oh.
Come back to my place. You can sleep there, and then I'll drive you back to the bus stop."
Bit suspicious. Probably gonna want something.
Suspicious. That is an excerpt of about 30% of homicide stories that ever existed.
Yeah. Yeah, Gacy liked that kind of thing.
What, cliches?
Yeah. So Gacy claimed, this is what he claimed, but how accurate and true this is debatable.
Yep.
He claimed that he woke up early in the morning to find McCoy standing in his bedroom doorway holding a kitchen knife. So he jumped from his bed, where McCoy raised both of his arms in like a surrender gesture, accidentally cutting Gacy's forearm, because obviously he had the knife in his hand. Gacy then grabbed McCoy, wrestled him to the floor, and stabbed him repeatedly in the chest. As McCoy lay dying, Gacy claimed that he went to wash the knife in the bathroom, then went into his kitchen to see that the kid, as payment for letting him sleep there, had been making him breakfast. And that's why he had the kitchen knife, and he'd come to wake him up for the food. McCoy had set the table for two. He didn't realise he was still carrying the knife, the kid, and yeah. Gacy then buried McCoy in the crawl space of his house, which you're gonna quickly realise is a common occurrence.
Oh.
And later covered his grave with a layer of concrete.
Okay.
In an interview years after the arrest, Gacy said that after killing McCoy, he felt totally drained, but noted as he stabbed McCoy and listened to the gurgle noises and gasping, he experienced a mind-numbing orgasm, and added, "That's when I realised that death was the ultimate thrill." Oh dear.
That's a problem.
So that was the first kill. Possibly an accident. Well, accidental circumstances.
Let me tell you something, mate.
Okay.
If somebody that I invited into my home is standing in the doorway with a knife, right? My immediate thought is not, "Oh my god, they're here to stab me."
I mean, I would be a bit concerned.
I would be a bit concerned, but I'd be like, "What are you doing?" And then they'd be like, "Breakfast."
But that's the
And I'd be
thing,
like,
we
"Oh."
only have his
Yeah.
his
I gotta
events of the story. I won't be surprised if it was the other way around.
I'm unconvinced.
Yeah.
I'm unconvinced.
But even if that is what happened, poor kid.
I'm curious.
Was just trying to do a nice
curious
thing.
as to whether he did actually get cut on the arm.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I've no idea.
Because if your forearm, if it gets sutured, heals quite nicely. You don't tend to get many scars on the outside of. There's not much skin movement, so it's quite easy to heal. So if you did,
I mean, I still have lots of scars on my forearms. So,
top though, not.
and that's not from a kitchen knife, so you'd imagine that would go deeper. So I wouldn't be
Yeah, but
surprised
that
if he did have a scar.
That probably wasn't medically cared for. Like
No.
sutured properly.
But I don't think most of those were nearly as bad as what I'd imagine a accidental slash from a fucking kitchen knife would be. So I don't know, but like I said, you've got to take these with a grain of salt because this is him recalling these crimes.
I don't believe that. I don't believe that.
But that was officially the first person he killed.
Got it.
And the first person that went into the crawl space, let's say that.
Oh, that sounds like fun.
Yeah. So, second murder.
Yes.
What are you looking for?
My cough sweets. But slowly but surely I'm sounding more and more like I'm dying. Sorry about that, homies. I've got a cold.
Yeah, you are sounding more raspy.
The more I talk, the more my throat hurts. And there's not really a way I can do these episodes without talking.
Yes, a little bit.
So I've got to suck it up. Or
Power
have a
through.
cough sweet.
All that. The next, they're not a lot, most of them after this are not really in as much detail, mainly because there's so many. Oh. And after this, they kind of happen in very quick succession. Similar methods kind of thing, usually. So like I said, this is part of it where it's like, I've cut some bits out.
Okay.
Time reasons, that kind of thing.
We're speed running this bit.
Yeah. So, Gacy said that around the time he committed murder for the second time was roughly about January 1974, so about a year afterwards. This victim remains unidentified. He was strangled and placed in Gacy's closet before being buried.
Okay.
July 31st, 1975, John Bokovich, an 18-year-old employee of his construction company, disappeared.
Oh.
His car was later found abandoned with his jacket and wallet still inside and keys still in the ignition. The day before he had disappeared, Bolkovich had actually confronted Gacy about being owed some back pay.
Okay.
That's when he disappeared.
Not convenient at all.
There was a bit of a rumour that he'd probably run away. That was probably quite a common thing in the 70s.
Yeah. Just up and leaving.
Yeah. So for 3 years, his family were constantly like, please look into Gacy. He was probably the last person to see him, and, he did work for him, and he did go to see him about pay. Investigate. So for the longest time, the police just didn't.
Typical police.
So at the home, rumoured that this was what happened, Gacy had offered, I'm so sorry if I'm butchering his name, but
call him by his first name.
John,
there we go.
Alright, John, like I said, Gacy had offered John a drink, and then conned him by doing his little magic trick with the handcuffs.
Okay.
And it was very much like, oh, do you want to see a cool trick I can do? Yeah, Beth, I would like to see a cool trick you can do. Oh, so here are these handcuffs. Bam, you're in handcuffs. Now I can do whatever the fuck I want. That was the trick. That was it.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's magical.
Like I said, there's some interviews and tapes and stuff where he demonstrates the trick. So, and it's nothing magical. It's just a way to get handcuffs on someone.
Take them unawares.
Yeah.
They're waiting for something.
Yeah.
It's unexpected.
Yeah.
They're open, handcuffed.
Pretty much.
Got it.
Yeah. So, yeah, his wrist got cuffed behind his back. Gacy then later confessed that he sat on the kid's chest for quite a while. And I'd like to remind you, he's a big guy.
Definitely going to kill you eventually.
Yeah.
That's a bad way to go.
And he sat on the kid's chest for a while before he strangled him. He then stowed John's body in his garage, intending to bury the body later in the crawl space, because at this point, he was still married to the second wife.
Oh.
And was still the wife was still living at home, remember, because she kept finding men's wallets and IDs and things, thinking they were like just
lovers,
gay things going on. So when his wife and stepdaughters returned home earlier than expected, Gacy buried John under the concrete floor of the tool room. And that was him. That was John.
Okay.
1 month after his divorce with his second wife was finalised, Gacy abducted and murdered an 18-year-old Darrell Sampson. He was last seen alive in Chicago, April 6, 1976. Gacy buried him under the dining room with a cloth lodged into his throat.
Oof.
Yeah. The cloth, when I say these things, that's because the police still found the cloth in his throat when his body was found.
Yeah, I figured.
May 14th, same year, 15-year-old Randall Reffitt disappeared shortly after returning home from a dentist appointment. 14-year-old Samuel Stapleton vanished as he walked home from his sister's apartment. He and Randall, the one who just disappeared and was murdered, were actually close acquaintances. They knew each other. And they were buried together in the crawl space. And the investigators believe that they were murdered this same evening as each other.
Jesus Christ, so he's doing it twice at the same evening.
He's getting ballsy.
He's escalating.
He is. June 3rd, Gacy killed 17-year-old Michael Bonin, who disappeared while travelling, strangled Bonin with a ligature and buried him under the spare bedroom.
Okay.
10 days later, he murdered another kid, 16-year-old William Carroll, buried him in what was the common grave in the house in the crawl space. Carroll seemed to have been the first of 4 victims known to have been murdered between June the 13th and August the 6th of 1976.
Jesus Christ.
3 of them were aged between 16 and 17 years old. 1 still remains unidentified, but appears to have been an adult. August the 5th the same year, 16-year-old James Hackinson is known to have phoned his family, possibly from Gacy's house. Either way, he died of suffocation, and his body was buried once again in the crawl space, and he was sandwiched beneath a 17-year-old Rick Johnston, who was last seen alive on August the 6th. So another 2 possibly killed, possibly around the same time. Yeah. He then murdered 2 more unidentified males between August and October of 1976. On October 24th, Gacy abducted and killed teenage friends Kenneth Parker and Michael Marino.
2 again?
Yep. The 2 were last seen on Clark Street in Chicago. 2 days later, a 19-year-old construction worker,
again,
William Bundy, disappeared.
Bundy?
Yeah, not that one. Disappeared after informing his family he was attending a party. Bundy died of suffocation as well. Gacy buried the body beneath the master bedroom. Between November and December of 1976, same year, Gacy murdered 21-year-old Francis Alexander. Same year, December 1976, he also killed 17-year-old Gregory Godzik, who disappeared, and Gacy told people that he ran away.
Convenient.
In the next year, so literally a month later, January 20th, 1977, Gacy lured a 19-year-old John Sink to his house where he strangled him. Same year, March 15th, he killed a 20-year-old John Prestige who disappeared, buried under the crawl space. Gacy then murdered 1 additional unidentified young man and buried him also in the crawl space during either the spring or the early summer of 1977. Like I said, when he starts killing,
he
it's
goes
rapid.
off on one, yeah.
It's rapid. People are just disappearing left, right, centre, all men. July 5th, same year, Gacy killed 19-year-old Matthew Bowman. At the end of 1977, Gacy had murdered 6 more young men between the ages of 16 and 21. The first of these was an 18-year-old Robert Gilroy, who was the son of a Chicago police sergeant, who was last seen alive on September 15th. And he also only lived 4 blocks from Gacy's house and was buried in the crawl space.
Christ almighty.
19-year-old former US Marine John Mowry disappeared after leaving his mother's house, strangled, buried his body beneath the master bedroom as well. October 17th, 21-year-old Russell Nelson disappeared, murdered, buried him beneath the guest bedroom. Less than 4 weeks later, he murdered a 16-year-old Robert Winch, buried him in the crawl space. He also killed 20-year-old Tommy Bolling, who disappeared on November the 18th. December 9th, 19-year-old US Marine David Talsma disappeared, strangled, buried in the crawl space. December 30th, abducted 19-year-old college student Robert Donnelly from a Chicago bus stop at gunpoint. Gacy drove him to his home, where he raped, tortured, repeatedly drowned Donnelly to unconsciousness in a bathtub, as he would make statements to him like, "Aren't we playing fun games tonight?" Donnelly later testified at trial.
Ooh.
He survived.
Shit.
That he was in such pain that he had asked Gacy just to kill him. And Gacy replied, "I'm getting round to it."
Clearly not.
After several hours of rape and torture and being forcefully
Waterboarded.
drowned,
Yeah.
Gacy just drove Donnelly to his workplace, released him for some reason, and when questioned about it by police, he just told the police that it was consensual, and the police believed him.
The police worry me.
Yeah. Luckily, we are getting towards the end of the killings.
Oh my goodness, thank God.
So, Gacy then killed... I still am not sure why he let that guy go, but alright. Gacy then killed 19-year-old...
Well, to be fair, think about it from his perspective, right? How many people has he killed at this point?
I've lost track.
Right, exactly. Like, if you use, you have to do more and more and more and more to get the same high. And it's the same with chemical reactions in the brain. That serotonin, you need more and more and more and more to get the same hit that you got from that first one.
Yeah, but besides from that, I want to say he was maybe the only one that he just let go.
Maybe he just wanted a high from seeing what the fuck would happen if he did. Because let's be honest, right? He's been reported to the police, he's wriggled. He's let people go, he's wriggled.
He's already been in prison.
He's been in prison, he's wriggled, right? He has done all of this. And despite the fact that numerous people have come forward, all he's done is serve 18 months.
Don't get me wrong, I think, and it's like very popular, thought, if he didn't get greedy with his killings, if he hadn't have just done it so often, that fast, easily...
He would have got off. He never would have been caught.
Yeah, he would have just kept going.
Yeah.
And the thing is, he had a lot of people wrapped around his finger. He had reputable businesses. He was only caught from a very small thing. Yeah, he could have easily have killed a lot more.
But his ego got the better of him.
But his ego and the fact that at the time he was by far the worst one in America. But yeah, so he killed 19-year-old William Kindred, who disappeared on February 16th, who was the final body that he could fit in the crawl space. I want to clarify, he filled up his crawl space. He had no more room.
Jesus Christ.
His crawl space under his entire house, full to the brim of bodies.
Jesus.
Just rotting, or buried in cement.
Smell, bro.
Yeah.
The smell.
I don't know, maybe the concrete would stop the smell. Because it would be embalming the bodies, kind of, wouldn't it?
Oof.
So March 23rd, Gacy lured a 26-year-old, possibly one of his oldest, Jeffrey Rignall, into his car, chloroformed him and drove him to his house, where his arms and head were restrained in a sort of pillory device, which was attached to the ceiling, with his feet locked into a different instrument. He was then raped and tortured with various different instruments, including lit candles, whips, chloroformed repeatedly into unconsciousness. He then dumped Rignall in Chicago's Lincoln Park unconscious but alive. Second.
But he's letting them go more and more.
Yeah,
it's like he's egging them on to catch him.
It's just, it's almost, it's not necessarily like he doesn't care, but it's just like, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Are you actually going to do something?
Like, he must be like 50, 60 victims at this point.
It just, the list goes on. The crawl space, like I said, is now full.
Mm-hmm.
Not great.
Yeah.
So now...
That might explain why he's starting to let people go. Like, he literally doesn't have the room to kill anybody anymore.
that's a good point, actually. Yeah, that's true. So it's rumoured that he has killed 5 people and had to throw them off the bridge in Chicago because he's got no more room left. Yeah. Only 4 bodies that he threw off managed to be found.
Okay.
The first known victim to be thrown off the bridge was 20-year-old Timothy O'Rourke. November 4th, Gacy killed 19-year-old Frank Langdon. November 24th, 20-year-old James Mazara. Obviously, like I said, the 4th was, I believe...
You said 5 bodies.
I think only... Did I say 3 or 4 just then? Names. Either way,
yeah.
The last one was unidentified because he was not found.
Got it.
And finally, we have the final victim.
Oh, jeez.
December 11th, 1978. Gacy visited the Nissan pharmacy in Des Plaines to discuss a potential remodeling deal with the store owner, Phil Torf. While he was in an earshot of a 15-year-old part-time employee, Robert Peast, Gacy mentioned that his construction firm was hiring, often teenage boys, and would start them on a wage of $5 per hour.
Okay, which was quite a lot back then.
That was almost double the pay he was getting at the pharmacy.
Woof.
So Robert was like, "Ooh, hell yeah."
Yeah, honestly.
So it was actually Robert's mum's birthday. So she had arrived at the store around that same time to drive him home to celebrate her birthday. Robert, he asked his mum just to wait, saying that some contractor wants to talk to me about a job. He was never seen again. Alive.
I think that's the saddest one so far.
Yeah, on his mum's birthday. His mum was still there, waiting for hours, and he just never turned up, which was very unusual for him.
That's got to have wrecked her though. Like, she must have been like.
But it was his case. That was the nail in his coffin.
Yeah, because he was named.
That was what caught him. It wasn't that he was just named. They found one small piece of evidence, and obviously
that linked him to this kid.
You like, people knew who he'd spoken to.
Yeah. Who
this contractor was that he was last seen with. But yeah, he shortly after arriving at 10 p.m. at Gacy's home, he was instantly killed. So
wow.
The capture and the aftermath.
Tell me, please.
So Robert's family clearly did, as you know, as soon as the mother was sat there waiting and he had not returned, because obviously it was quite late.
Yeah.
It was a birthday, they were supposed to be doing family celebrations.
Yeah.
He had not returned. Very weird. Not heard from her at all.
Very much not the status quo.
She was like, right, missing persons right now.
Yeah.
Gacy was very quickly named as the contractor he was going to meet, obviously, because lots of people had seen him.
Yeah, he's a very well-known face.
The store owner that he had initially gone to talk to. Because that's obviously the place where the kid worked as well. Yeah. So he clearly saw a lot. So at 3:20 in the morning, Gacy arrived at the police station covered in mud, claiming that he'd been involved in a car accident. On returning to the police station later that day, Gacy was obviously asked about Robert's disappearance and, that he was the last one. At this point, he wasn't necessarily a suspect, but he was...
Person of interest.
Yeah, he was the last person to see him. And,
Suspicious.
Yeah. And he denied any involvement in, Robert's disappearance.
Shocking.
And repeated that he had not offered him a job. The Des Plaines police obtained a search warrant on December 13th to search his house.
Okay.
Questionable. The search revealed several suspicious items in the house, which was a bit... Why do you have this?
Why is this in your possession?
Yeah. What are you using this for? Including several police badges, a starter pistol, a syringe, a hypodermic needle, handcuffs, books on homosexuality, and I don't know what this is. Pederasty? Don't know what that is.
Foot restraints.
Pornographic films. Don't feel like that's very weird. Especially in the 70s.
Depends.
Maybe they're that weird. Capsules of amyl nitrate, a dildo, a 2x4 with 2 holes drilled in either end. Don't know what that means. Could be anything. I feel like it maybe could be that pillory device that was for that guy.
So old-fashioned pillory device. Instead of having like a head thing, you had a bar across the back of your shoulders.
Exactly, that's what I'm thinking it was.
And you'd put your wrists through the holes, and then you'd be cuffed at the top, and you couldn't pull your hands back through. And it used to sit behind you, and it used to force your head down and push your shoulders back, and it's actually really fucking painful.
Yeah,
because it used to be used as a medieval torture device.
I'm assuming that's what that is. Bottles of Valium and atropine, several driver's license, a blue hooded parka, underwear way too small to fit Gacy. They also found a class ring engraved with the initials JAS.
Which is obviously not his.
Yeah. And a Nissan Pharmacy photo receipt in a trash can linking him to Robert.
Yeah.
Which is the piece of evidence that is like, oh,
Robert was definitely here.
Yes,
Robert was in this house.
And that receipt was actually found in the same place that a 36-inch section of nylon rope was found. Obviously, his most common method, strangulation. Both vehicles that he owned were confiscated and also searched. At this point, he's being followed constantly, surveilled. At this point, he knows they're onto him, so he's trying to rizz up the police, be all charismatic and shit.
Fucking hell.
He's inviting them for meals, he's inviting them for drinks, he's like, I've got booze at my house. The police are not having it.
They're a bit old for him, aren't they?
Probably, yeah. But either way, his befriending
Let me tell you, right,
techniques,
they're not going to be impressed with the handcuff trick, let me tell you that.
No, they're not. They probably already know it.
But to use it on him.
Surprisingly, they were not bothered by his charm this time.
Excellent, that's what
probably
I want to hear.
Because, maybe the gay stuff found in his house and bit suspicious.
Even they can't ignore this.
Yeah. Human hair was found in his car, but a receipt was also found in the house that was linked to another different missing persons report.
Oh, so we've got multiple missing people having been seen having evidence of being in the house.
Yes. So, when flushing Gacy's toilet, don't know how we got to that point, not going to question it.
Look, the police are very thorough when they search houses, alright?
The officer noted a weird smell. There we go.
From the Undercroft.
Maybe, but if you remember at this point, he's got bodies pretty much under every room in that house. The garage, the master bedroom, the guest bedroom.
The spare bedroom, the dining room, the living room.
Literally. So he suspected, and he's like sniffing it, and he's like, I know what this smell is because I'm a police officer.
Mm.
What is that? Oh, yes, rotten corpse scent.
Mm. It's kind of when you walk into a kitchen and you're like, ah, yes, onions.
Meat. Yes,
Yeah.
onions, yeah. And he's like, where is that coming from?
Where isn't it coming from?
Well, true. The heating duct. Interesting. So obviously, like I said, he still had, by this point he was caught, he still had that 18-year-old David Cram living in his house with him. Some people are like, surely that guy knew guys were coming over and being killed. It's on the rocks, you can't prove it. Maybe he did know, but he's already attacked you twice. Do you want to rile up the fucking beast? No thanks.
No, let's not go poking the bear.
So, the flatmate had told police that Gacy had told him to work on the house a lot while he lived there, specifically the crawl space, and it was very strict instructions he was given. He wasn't only supposed to dig where he was told, and he was never, ever supposed to dig anywhere else in this crawl space. Bit suspicious.
You know that TikTok, right? There's this TikTok content creator, right? And he has these massive flags.
I've seen
and
that, the red flag guy.
The red flag guy,
yeah.
right? All I can see him with this big red flag just running across my mind.
Honestly, this whole episode, yeah. But I'm getting the TikTok noise of, she knows.
And I know she knows.
And I know she knows. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Yeah, and so, December 20th.
It's a bad Christmas.
Gacy is like, listen, fuck. Now that the crawl space has been mentioned, brought up, they can smell corpses in my house. Do you want to know a reason why they could? Because, yes, it was through the heating thing, but that was because it was now winter.
And the heating was being used.
The heating was finally being used. Whereas before, I'm pretty sure they'd searched his house before.
Yeah.
And
it was
they
warmer.
They had not smelled anything. But now we're in a colder time.
Heating's being used, air's circulating, things are being warmed up and getting juicy.
Yeah. So at this point, he knows it's a matter of time before they start digging in that fucking crawl space. And he knows they're not going to have to dig for long because that shit is full.
Yeah.
And especially in concrete, there ain't no way he's going to be able to do anything because he's got the police breathing down his neck.
Yeah. Those bodies are being found. Those bodies are being found. It's a matter of time.
It's a ticking time bomb any day. So, December 20th, he drove to his lawyer's office in Park Ridge to attend a little meeting they had scheduled. Probably to discuss a civil suit and, generally what was going on.
What are my options? I've murdered 60 people.
Yeah, the lawyer said that he appeared very anxious and dishevelled, very annoyed that he was constantly being followed by police. They won't leave him alone. And apparently as soon as Gacy got into his office, he immediately asked for alcohol. And got really drunk.
A whiskey, neat, now.
So the lawyer, while Gacy was drunk, showed him a newspaper of the missing boy Robert.
Yeah.
Who obviously started up this whole police coming to him.
Yeah.
And he, after being shown this newspaper, was like, yeah, he's dead and he's in the river.
Oh.
Just straight up.
Okay. Alright.
And then,
okay,
as soon as he said that, babe, Gacy could not shut the fuck up.
Oh, God.
Man was rambling. He was drunk and he was just saying shit. And he just kept talking. And it did not stop until the early hours of the next day. This confession he was rambling. Obviously.
All inadmissible.
Yeah. He said it, but the lawyer wasn't prepared, so he didn't have any kind of recording thing or anything.
Yep.
So, he was saying to, like, the judge that he had been the judge, jury, and executioner of many, many people. He'd buried their bodies in his crawl space.
Interesting.
As they believed they were his property.
Interesting that he says judge,
jury, and executioner.
Like that, like they've done something wrong. Like, somehow in his head he was the moral...
Yeah.
The moral high ground. Like, that's interesting.
He's giving me very much his dad vibes a little bit there.
Yeah. Definitely.
But yeah, as a result of the alcohol he consumed, he fell asleep midway through the confession.
Okay.
And then when he woke up, he panicked a bit, being like, oh shit, I definitely just said what I said.
Yeah.
And left. Then, obviously, as he left, the lawyer then immediately went straight to the police and was like, listen, guy's, like, killed a lot of people and been telling me about it.
Okay. Sensible man.
And he's also told me where he's buried a lot of the bodies. Oh, but you're already investigating the crawl space? Definitely look in the fucking crawl space. So the police were like, oh, maybe we should probably check the crawl space. You'd hope so.
Even with all of this evidence, they're still idiots.
Yeah. So, Gacy was then told, yeah, we are, like, we're gonna search the crawl space.
Oh dear.
And he was like, oh, no, there's no one buried there. You crazy. Crazy.
Oh my
god. But there was one time I did kill a boy and buried him in the garage. Like, I buried him under there. But not in the crawl space. Yeah. This was a different boy. In that location.
So he tried to throw the police off by admitting to a different murder?
Yeah. I mean, they also did look under the garage and there was a body, but that's not the point.
It's not the point.
So, when they were, like, looking into the garage a little bit, he flooded the crawl space, tried to flood it. However, a lot of it was already in cement.
Yeah.
So...
He just flooded his own house.
This is not really doing much there. Yeah. So then they were like,
what are you doing?
Why did you flood that? Oh, wait, is there something here? This is so dumb because everyone's like, I was told to not dig in certain places of the crawl space. This guy came into my office and he was like saying he's buried a lot of people under that crawl space. Oh no, I've definitely not buried anyone in the crawl space, but one time in the garage. Yeah, but mind while I just go flood my own crawl space real fast.
Right. I don't even have words.
Look, oh wait. Oh yeah, where's that smell coming from? Oh, the heating? Oh, leads into the crawl space? Oh, that's crazy.
Why
and yet they're still not looking in the fucking crawl space. Please.
Jesus Christ.
Oh my god. So, finally, December 22nd.
Somebody looked in the crawl space.
It's a miracle. With the presence of his lawyers, Gacy actually provided a formal statement in which he confessed to murdering, because at this point, they were going to look in the crawl space. He confessed to killing at least 30 young males, all of which he claimed entered his house willingly. Bullshit, first of all.
I mean, I don't doubt that some of them did, but it was under false pretenses.
Yeah.
To begin with.
But, like, with the crawl space, I didn't include this in my writing, but I briefly remember it's like some what it said. But, so, they thought, like, one body was gonna be in there. So, they, like, after he flooded it, they went to, like, the crawl space. We're digging for, like, 2 minutes, and they found some bones. And they were like, oh, damn, some bones. And then, so they started, like, they continued, and then they were like, oh, yeah, we found some more bones. Hold on. This is a different dude. Alright. And then the bodies just kept coming. And it was just like, they were just overcome by just an insane amount of bones and bodies of a lot of different people.
Yeah.
And they were just, it was wild.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, and then they just kept finding them in other rooms as well. It wasn't even just the crawl space.
They were literally crammed in every available space.
It was just wild. So they tried to have him plead insanity. He was found officially guilty of 33 charges. Wouldn't be surprised if there was more.
Yeah.
I
mean, when you get past 10, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah. But 33, and in that time that he was arrested, was actually the highest ever killings of a serial killer.
Yeah.
In America.
Yeah.
Completely.
Yeah.
He was also charged with, so obviously he was found guilty.
Yeah.
He was also charged with sexual assault and taking liberties with minors. So he was sentenced to death, and he was actually on death row for 14 years. During that time, he did a lot of interviews. Didn't really care about his crime. Like, he would talk about it with literally just anyone and whoever came. Like I said, there's the not Jeffrey Dahmer. There's the John Wayne Gacy tapes.
Yeah.
Just a lot. He loved the publicity. Loved it. And so he died May 9th, 1994 by lethal injection. His last meal...
Oh, tell me, please. I love these.
...was KFC.
Beautiful. As it should be, obviously, yeah.
Fries, shrimps, strawberries, and a Diet Coke.
Okay. Question for you, because this came up at work recently.
Yes.
What would be your last meal if you were on death row? What's your starter?
Starter would be prawn cocktail.
Nice. Main. You see, this is the good shit.
I'm gonna say... Fuck it, I'm gonna go 2 because they're on par.
Okay.
I'd either go chicken Kievs with rice.
Ooh.
Because I love my Kievs.
Oh.
Or I go katsu curry.
Nice.
I'd also want a side of sushi.
Fair.
Yeah.
Fair. Yeah.
Dessert. Oh, fuck me. I'd either go with something like chocolate eclair.
Oh, yes.
Say fresh.
Mm.
You know, with strawberries and shit.
Yeah.
Or I'd go like Victoria sponge. Has to be fresh with the strawberries and the fresh cream and shit.
That's good. What are you drinking?
Cup of tea.
Nice.
Yeah. Also, bring a Costa peach iced tea down. Bring that in. Bring the Costa peach iced tea.
That's a quarter of your budget already gone.
That don't matter. It's my last meal. Bring it. Where are you?
Okay, so patatas bravas for starter. So it's a Spanish tapas, and it's kind of like a fry texture of like potato cubes.
Gross.
No, they're like potato cubes that are fried like a fry with like a spicy tomato sauce.
Low-key just reminds me of a hash brown, and I'm not
into that. It basically is, but it's like it's an actual piece of potato. It's not bits of potato mashed together. It's an actual cube of potato. Patata bravas. It's Spanish. It's really nice. My dad used to make me, whenever my parents had Valentine's Day dates every year, my dad used to make me my own dinner alongside his and my mum's. And then I'd take it upstairs and I'd like get all the office to myself for the whole evening. It was a real treat for me, and they always bought me some Ben & Jerry's ice cream as well. But I got homemade chicken Kievs, vegetables covered in butter, so good, and Dad's homemade dauphinoise potatoes, which are potato slices.
You're really just going all out with the potatoes.
Yeah, I love my carbs, baby. I love my carbs, baby. Look, if I'm gonna die, give me every carbohydrate you can.
Yeah, fuck it, yeah.
It's basically dauphinoise potatoes. It's just layers of potato, garlic, and heavy cream.
Jesus Christ,
over and over and over, stacked with cheese on top, right? And then they're slow cooked in the oven, so they're cooked, these potatoes, in cream. Oh god, it's the most incredible thing on the planet.
You just orgasmed on.
I did. It was incredible. And then for dessert, I would have classic sticky toffee pudding.
Gross.
without the fruit in it, because sometimes people put like figs in it and plums.
That's gross.
I'm not a vibe. Not a vibe.
I understand.
I need it without that, but it's so good. And then I'd have a
Coffee.
Either I'd have a coffee, or if
Mm.
alcoholic drinks were allowed, I'd have a bottle of Corona.
Yeah, I feel like that'd probably be allowed.
Just a bottle of Corona, just to wash it all down. Beautiful. Because it's a pub food. It's pub food.
True.
You need a beer. But if not, I'd have a coffee or Pepsi Max.
My dog.
Your dog!
His final words.
Tell me.
Kiss my ass.
You know what? That's very
Straight to the
fitting.
point.
It's very fitting.
Yeah.
He probably did have a lot of people.
But his
his ass.
crimes and like the impact of it, the numbers of it,
The sheer numbers. Sheer numbers.
the sheer uselessness of the police and actually giving a
Honestly.
shit about these missing
Oh my
boys actually helped create the very world famous thing still used to this day, the Amber Alert. For
missing kids.
For missing kids.
There's like a statewide notification goes out
Mhm.
about any missing kid.
Yep. And he was the reason it was made.
Damn.
Yeah.
That is
So,
a profound impact on the justice
That
system.
is John Wayne Gacy.
That is Dudley Dursley in American form with hair.
Yes. This is what I mean about Pogo the Clown.
No,
If you see... No, just listen, right? So,
no.
like I
This
said-
is worse.
no, wait, just look. I'm trying to show you what I mean about the edges.
Beth, this is
Right.
like me making you look at like a picture of a tarantula.
Yeah, but people do that to me all the time. Look, if you see, like, the edges, the way he does the smile and the eyes, it's all edgy, it's pointed.
Pointy.
And, like, he didn't bother with, like, any of the theatrical, like, the nose, the hair.
Oh, that was easily like the worst thing that's the worst part of this entire evening is to look at that clown picture.
And obviously, because, some of them are still unidentified to this day, not all the bodies were found.
No.
These are only some of the
Oh,
boys
here we go. We're gonna
that
have
were found.
we're
But
gonna
they
have a victim
all
picture.
have the same kind of look, if you see what I mean.
Long faced, shaggy hair,
Yeah.
very distinguished features.
Yeah.
You know, they've all got a very kind of long nosed, athletic look.
Mm. But yeah. John Wayne Gacy.
Get that thing off my phone now.
Okay.
I love you, but get that clown off my phone.
He's gone.
Thank you. That was wow.
Just log out.
That was when you started listing victims
Yeah.
and you were giving me name, age, last seen, mode of death, name, age, last seen, mode of
Like I
over
said,
and
when,
over and
when
over
they
and
just
over.
yeah. 33, like, maybe now because I know there's been some that have been wild. Like there's a guy in, I can't remember where he's from, really famous killer that surprisingly not a lot of people know about, but he killed like over 200 or something kids, and he's like, I believe he's free to this day. Because he managed to,
fucking right.
he killed a lot. But I'm sure he'll probably be on our list.
He'll pop up at some point, yeah.
Best believe I'm not reading over 200 names out.
It's fair. It's fair.
But yeah, that was that, and that was me cutting a lot of stuff out.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like I said, with the victims, there were just...
So many.
There were so many, and like, I know, yeah, like I said, to this day, maybe it doesn't seem like a big number, but especially back then, that was around the time serial killers really started.
What was it about that age?
The thing is, people ask that a lot. I think there's a lot of different things. The police didn't have like a lot of like what we have now, DNA kind of things.
Yeah.
That was just not a thing.
I feel like as well, like...
It was easier because runaways were a thing back then.
Big thing,
especially when like sort of hippie 70s came, 60s and 70s.
When you were 17, 18, 19
That
and you were
kind of
misunderstood,
thing
you were gone.
had just happened all the time.
Yeah.
So the thing is, yeah, a lot of kids did run away, and
Yeah.
obviously the things like the Amber system and stuff just weren't a thing.
Yeah.
They weren't taken seriously.
I think as well it's interesting to consider like the time that these guys were raised in. Like a lot of these guys are born in like 40s, early 50s. Like they're post World War II babies.
Yeah.
You know, they're part of that generation where all of their parents were fucking traumatized.
Mm-hmm.
And all of their parents were traumatized. Because if you're raising a kid in the 40s, then you were probably alive
for World War One.
Yeah.
So you've been through 2 world wars. Everybody was involved in the war somehow, whether you were overseas or at home, it didn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
So
Probably
you were all
lost
fucking
people.
traumatized. You were all grieving. You were all traumatized.
Yeah.
Like, and the people that we sent overseas to fight in the world wars,
No, but also, like,
when they came back, there was no kind of support. There was nothing in place to help them reintegrate back into society. So you just had these angry, traumatized 20-year-old males having families that they had no business having.
Also, I feel like 60s, 70s, 80s were also like a weirdly way too trusting of a time. It's a time where people wouldn't lock their doors.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, you know, Richard Ramirez would just walk in a lot of places.
Yeah.
You know, because it's like very much, you know, community.
Yes, community, family, neighbour vibes, like...
And I don't know, yeah, there's lots of reasons why I think there was just this boom of killers that just...
There was an opportunity.
Came out of nowhere.
Yeah. But it is interesting, like, at the beginning you said, is it nature or is it nurture?
I think both. But I preliminarily, when you ask me about serial killers generally, I will always go nurture. Because I don't, unless they have a very rare brain disorder that might edge them towards a sort of darker path, I still don't believe someone is born a killer.
I don't think someone's born a killer. I think someone can be born with the predilections
Yeah, exactly.
to be a killer, but that's something that needs a nurture environment to trigger.
Exactly, yeah.
But I do think there are some people who are just naturally born with a predilection to take advantage of people who are weaker than them. And how it like shows itself and how it grows and appears as they age is in a way very dependent upon their environment. But you can put some people in those kind of environments and they will never grow up to lay a hand on anybody.
Exactly. That's
why I don't like the nature versus nurture, because I think they're dependent on each other.
Exactly. Yeah, the thing is, like, obviously I know a lot of people that have, like, been through a lot of bad shit and are not, well, whatever the fuck this was.
Yeah.
And, you know, hopefully we'll never turn out to be whatever the fuck this was. But,
Beth, if you start kidnapping teenage boys, I will tell the police.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Yeah. I'd hope not. That I do not do
I
that.
would hope not too.
Yes.
Because I may kill you myself.
That's fair. I'd probably go for that. But I don't know. Yeah, it's just I don't see a child just being like, you know, I'm just gonna start killing people.
I don't think
something has to trigger it.
I don't think it's that. I think sometimes it's gradual. So if you're young and you see...
All you know is bad shit.
Yeah, and if you see an authority figure who's quite happy to exploit others' weakness for his own gains, and if that's in your head growing up, then that's a possibility that you're going to be well acquainted with when you come into a position of authority. And you saw him, like, he was in positions of authority, he was doing well.
He was, yeah.
He was settling down,
but
he
he
had
was
a career.
also using that power.
But yeah.
In bad ways.
Exactly. So that's why I think it escalated. And I do think that first killing was genuinely an overreaction. Like...
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
In that moment, he was a man, vulnerable, in bed, and there was another man standing there with a knife.
Or was there? Or was he stood there with a knife?
We don't know. But I feel like...
Either way, I think he had been leading up to that moment. He was going to kill someone.
He was escalating.
Easily.
He was escalating. And I think it was only a matter of time until he killed someone, but I don't think, based on what we know of that murder, what we know of all the others...
I don't think...
It's very different.
I say I don't think he planned to in that moment. Maybe he didn't plan to when he invited the kid around.
Maybe he exploited an opportunity.
Yeah, maybe he thought about it.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I'd go as far as to say, you know, he brought him there to kill him in that moment. But I think
because
he
up until
quickly
then,
would realise that he had the perfect situation.
Yeah, because up until then, he had the MO of luring kids back to his house, watching the stag videos, handcuff trick, inappropriate sexual acts,
Done.
Possibly money.
Yeah.
Off you go, drive you back to the bus station, go
Exactly.
home to your dad.
And then, obviously, like you said, well, like when he spoke about his first one,
Yeah.
he enjoyed it way too much and had that mind-blowing orgasm after that. And
Which explains, because for him, I feel like sex and death are very intermingled.
But the thing is, I think also what's important when it comes to this case is, and you know, you could argue it for like Jeffrey Dahmer as well, but I think during the time of Jeffrey Dahmer, homosexuality was becoming, I mean, it was still a bit taboo, but you know, there was gay clubs, and you know,
It was on the fringes of social acceptance.
Yeah.
On the fringes.
If
you're in the right
the 60s
place.
and 70s,
Yeah.
especially with his father, who from a young age had been telling him he was a sissy and gonna turn out gay and
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah, it was still very taboo at that time. I think maybe he might not have been so violent with the sexual acts, maybe, if
He didn't feel like he had something to prove.
yeah, and you know, if homosexuality hadn't been so taboo in that time.
Yeah.
And so, you know, looked down upon, but like,
I mean, it is
I don't know.
wild to think about, like,
There's a lot of things you can speculate, but like I said, we'll probably do another smaller episode on them.
Yeah.
Because, you know, there's still quite a lot of things that we
Yeah.
haven't discussed, but
for sure. But
it's an interesting thing to think about.
I mean, when we first started talking about this, and we brought up the nature versus nurture question, in my head I was like, nature. Like, nothing can happen to this kid in his life that is going to justify this behaviour. And I stand by that. Like, I don't think there is any way that you can not say that it might just be part of somebody's DNA.
Yeah, oh no, I agree.
But I think that his father was a violent trigger for a lot of it. Like, if it had just been his nature and he had like a loving mother, I still feel like he would have done a lot of bad things.
Yeah,
But I don't feel like it would have been that bad.
I feel like it probably ramped up after his father died, because at that point, he had nothing to gain approval for. His father was dead.
Not to mention the fact that he had everything his father wanted for him.
Mm-hmm.
He had his approval,
But
he had
then
his respect, and then he lost it all.
ruined Yeah, while
Then he
his
lost
father
it
was
all.
alive, so he was back being a disappointment.
Yeah, and he never got the chance to prove himself again.
No, and you like that is something that he says he does like regret and stuff. But not having his father constantly looking down on him, breathing down his neck, he had no one to like beg for approval from anymore. He had no one to try and impress.
Maybe his father was in a way
Preventing him
keeping
from
a lid
doing
on it.
worse
Yeah.
things. Yeah.
keeping a lid on it because
And,
he feared his father's retribution if he found out that he'd like disappointed him anymore.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I think that was definitely a moment where
I would be intrigued to know more about like the mum's perspective on things, like her reaction. Like, was she as judgmental about the possibility of homosexuality, or was she kind of very much in the stay out the way, stay incognito?
I don't think she was particularly
Chatty.
fond of it either.
Okay.
But again, I think it was just like the times. But yeah, obviously we'll have to see if I can as for a shorter episode.
Yeah.
Find out like about his kids.
Yeah, I'm intrigued to see what happened about his kids.
His wives.
His wives?
Yeah, because he had two.
Oh yeah.
But then he also had two sisters as well.
Oh, I did.
I'd
be intrigued to know about like.
But yeah, another thing is that he also did a lot of artwork, and they while he was in prison when he finally got caught, and they also did very well.
I mean, John Wayne Gacy piece.
So
it's the morbidity, isn't it? It's the morbidity.
It's
the conversation starter. You know, it's the I have something very cool to show you. This is an actual piece of artwork from the prolific serial killer John Wayne Gacy.
Oh yeah,
like,
for sure.
That's a social standing.
That's a very morbid kind of.
It's incredibly morbid.
Why do you own that kind of thing?
It's incredibly morbid, and I would argue to say incredibly inappropriate.
Oh yeah, for sure, especially for the victims.
Because for every one person that was killed, and let's remember there was at least 33 of them.
At least.
Right?
Mm.
There had to be at least 4 or 5 people in that person's family. So if you want to think about it, that's at least, what?
I'm not going to try that maths.
30 times, that's at least 150 family members, at the minimum, that are dealing with the after effects. And that's just victims. That's murder victims. That's not assault victims.
Yeah, and there was a lot of those.
Yeah.
So.
And there's obviously the little girl when he was a boy.
The survivors.
The survivors.
Especially the ones that endured the torture.
I would argue that the boys who got taken and immediately killed got the lesser of it.
But there was also some indications as well that for some of the victims that he did kill, I'm not sure for the ones that got away, but for some of them he actually also dressed up as the clown and played with them before he killed them. So imagine being killed by a fucking clown. That looked like that picture I just showed you. Yeah,
don't, right? Because you're sharing a room with me tonight, and if I wake up having nightmares, you're the one who's making me a cup of tea at 3 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, that's fine. Okay?
Well, yeah, that was John Wayne Gacy.
Do you know what? For all that it was morbid, and for all that I lost my voice halfway through, I did actually quite enjoy that one.
Yeah.
It's an interesting... I like the ones where we have discussions, because normally the only ones we get to have discussions about are ones where it's an open end, we don't know what happened.
Mystery, the room.
But there's so much to consider, as a society, why that period was just so prolific in producing serial killers. How many serial killers do we get in modern times?
But that's the thing. We're not going to get as many as there was because of things like...
It's a deterrent to start with.
We have the increased capabilities of DNA, that kind of thing.
Fingerprinting, forensics.
Surveillance has gone mass up.
Oh, surveillance.
There is
Big
surveillance
Brother out there.
everywhere.
It's Big Brother.
Yeah, it's fucking 1984.
Everything is tracked.
Whereas surveillance was not that big of a thing.
No.
Or it was barely used, or it was such outdated things back then.
You were lucky if you got a car description back then.
Things got fucking overwritten for, things on TV. That's how shit their surveillance was back in the day. So we're definitely, as much as I'm, not one for, wanting to be watched all the time.
Yeah. I'll take being watched if it's going to stop me from getting kidnapped on the streets.
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to fully stop it.
No, but it's a deterrent.
We still, for sure, have, serial killers and killings and things. But we're not going to have
near
as many as they had in that period all at once.
And that many killings by that many serial killers.
Babe, if you look into different serial killers and things, you find out, the prisons they, went to. The amount of, the ones where they end up in the same prisons and they're all mates. Wild.
Serial killer buddies.
Or they at least know of each other. Or interacted with each other.
Welcome to our serial killer bar. We're both Taurus. They're both Gemini.
It's just, it's wild. Absolutely
It is an interesting one because there's a lot...
I'm just glad not to have been alive in that time.
There's a lot to unpack there.
There is.
So,
yeah.
You could really, sink your teeth. I mean, we're 2 hours in already, but...
I told you this would be a long one.
I told you it would be 2 hours.
Yeah.
And here we are.
Yeah.
But, it's just...
But yeah, I won't mind doing, an episode about, delving more into, why specifically that time period was particularly spicy.
For sure.
For that kind of thing. But yeah, there's... Yeah, I'm glad to have skipped out on that one.
Honestly, I'm very happy with the time period I was born in.
Yeah.
Besides Donald Trump.
Well,
our time period's not
we
too
can't
bad.
at all.
But don't worry, he's 70-something, so he's going to be capping it soon.
Well, he already got shot in the ear recently, so...
Allegedly. Have you seen the photo about the fact that there's actually no mark on his ear anymore?
The amount that I don't care about Donald Trump.
1 week later. Right?
He's got super healing, babe.
Would you like to know the fact? Right. I have a co-worker who was listening to me talk about how much I don't like Donald Trump and how much I wouldn't have cried if he'd got shot. And he said,
oh, you've just been brainwashed by American media. What's Donald Trump actually done to offend you?
Right.
Right.
Yeah, but wait. You try having your boyfriend tell you that. So sorry, babe. So sorry. Babe, I don't know what to say anymore, babe. This is why.
But I looked at him.
You need to understand, because my boyfriend's a little bit right wing and I am very left. So politics, we discuss it, but we definitely know we disagree with each other when it comes to it.
Oh, God, right.
And sometimes, Becky, you just gotta let the men rant.
No.
Because I can't be arsed.
Yeah. So I just stood there listening to him going on about how, and I quote, Trump was a top man, that Nigel Farage was the future of Great Britain, and if Reform didn't win the election, he was going to rig the voting. And I looked at him, right, and so he was going on about getting rid of the immigrants and all this shit, and I was like, and I looked at him and I was like, my guy, you know that crew member over there that you really like? And he was like, yeah, and I'm like, him, deported, gone, back to their home countries, as you so nicely put it. And he was like, oh. And I was like, I have never looked at you and thought, my God, you were born with a silver spoon up your ass, weren't you? And he was like, I hadn't thought about that. And I was like, because you're thinking about the world from your middle-class white man point of view.
Oh, but don't worry, babe, because clearly what I've been informed of lately is that apparently, I don't know, we got into politics here.
We were discussing...
I blame Becky.
Why are we... No, that's fair. No. That's fair. I did bring it up.
The amount of times that I've been told in these past few months how the white man is actually the most oppressed right now. And I'm like, sure, Jen, sure. You're right, if that's what you believe. Okay. And I'm like, no, for real. Yeah, whatever.
Oh, yeah, baby, sure.
Yeah. Why not? Why not?
I love that. You know, you asked me a question earlier, right? You said, are you trans? Okay. And I said, I don't know. It's the label that closest fits, but I'm not. No. Do you know why I don't say yes?
The right wings.
Right, yeah. Because as soon as you say you're trans in the UK,
danger time.
You reduce your label to that lower than sheep shit. Because at least sheep shit has a purpose.
Fertilizer?
Yes.
Okay.
I do not. I do not have a purpose.
You do to me and the podcast.
Thank you. I appreciate you and the podcast. But I would just like to say that in government politics terms, for the right wings, I am lower than sheep shit, right?
Yeah.
I am lower than sheep shit, which is why I don't label myself as trans.
Yeah.
Because even as non-binary, I can still slip into the skin of woman when it suits me.
Yeah, true.
I can just be like, oh, I'm just a butch woman, my guy. Like, stop being so judgmental. And they're like, oh, my bad. Like,
you're right.
Shit, I thought you were trans. I'm like, my guy,
woman.
Chill out. I am a middle-class white woman with short hair. Don't judge me. And they're like, oh, I'm so sorry, mate. It's like, you're all right. And it's so manipulative, I know.
No, it's
but
good.
sometimes...
You gotta work it.
You gotta do shit to protect yourself.
Yeah.
Because even I know that I work with people who would not put one toe out of line to protect me if somebody attacked me because they thought I was trans. And it's a sad fact of life that I know that there are at least 3 or 4 people in my crew that love me, but as soon as they find out I'm even considering being trans, they wouldn't lift a finger for me. And I know it. Which is a shame, because, all of these people I would consider friends, but it's one of those sad things in life, really.
It's democratic, because obviously we're not American.
Democratic is as close to left-wing.
Oh God, he's trying to sneak our end.
Democratic.
No.
I believe.
In it, Republic. That's the right.
Republic is right wing. Democratic is left wing.
American views. So you're gonna have to help us out here.
And then there's also I think it's independent, where they can have allies from both sides, and they run in the middle like an independent party.
Okay.
So they only have 3. They have independent, and then they have red, and they have blue. Democratic is blue, so it's opposites, because the Democratic are the blues in America, and the reds are the right wings, whereas in the UK, Labour is red, and Conservative is blue. So it's the other way around.
Oh, God.
That's why you can't trust
Either
colours.
way, I don't want John Wayne Gacy in our corner.
Unfortunately, John Wayne Gacy was in our corner, democratically speaking.
This is what the world
Yeah.
to.
Yeah, that makes you feel any better. I mean, there are far worse people in the Republican Party.
Worse than a serial killer? Really?
You should look into some of the Republican presidents that we've had.
I don't know if I want to do that.
Honey, 33 people, 33,000 soldiers.
Well, that's
Where do you want to start?
That's another topic, though. This is serial killing on an individual basis.
Okay.
This is not war.
Okay.
But granted, I don't support that.
Thank you. I'm just saying, right, sending 200, 500,000 people to fight a war.
That you probably started.
No, but the thing is, right, you don't want to know the funny thing, right? The Twin Towers happened, and what did they do? They invaded the wrong country. The people who brought down the Twin Towers weren't even Iraqi. Nor were they Afghani.
They just felt like it, bro.
I'm pretty sure they were from Sudan. Okay?
Yeah.
So explain to me how the Iraq and Afghani wars were triggered by a Sudanese attack on the Twin Towers. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys. Obviously, I might have got a couple of facts wrong. But how?
I feel like that is giving me the same vibe as, you know, when people are like, oh, all black people look the same. That's what that's giving me. All Asian people look the same.
Oh my god, it's a Muslim attack.
That is what the vibe is that's giving me.
Do you know what? It's like looking. It's like
On the
looking.
world map, where do I think Middle Eastern places are?
Honestly.
How about that place?
It's like seeing a white person and going, oh, they must be Russian. Not all white people are from Russia.
Every white person's actually American.
Exactly. Every white person. Every white person hails from... Most white people hail from, like...
Canada.
No, isn't it like the... It's the Europeans.
Yes.
Mostly because the Africans moved up to Europe and then they moved to continents. So
Either way,
we've diverged quite greatly here.
Do not know where we came from for that.
We went on a route about equality and authorities.
Either way, he was a no-no man. He
was a
diddled a lot of people that didn't want to be diddled. He
Not
killed a
consensual.
lot of young people who obviously did not want to be killed.
Yeah.
But at least, if we're going to look at a positive...
At least he's dead.
And he did help. Well, he was the cause of creating a very, very useful thing that has been incredibly useful in saving the lives of many children. The Amber Alert.
Yeah. So...
because that has saved so many children. It's
I never thought I'd
wild.
say this, but thank you, John Wayne Gacy,
Yeah, it's pretty wild to say.
for the Amber Alert being created because of your murderous pedophilic tendencies.
Yeah, a little bit.
I'm sorry the cost was so high.
Was. Yeah.
But I consider it a spit on your grave that your actions have caused hundreds of thousands of kids to be saved.
Yeah,
from
a large
people
amount.
Just like you.
And that is probably also another reason of why these things are not actually happening as much in the modern time. Because we've got shit like this now.
Try taking a fucking 16-year-old off the street now.
I mean, don't get
With
me wrong.
social media, you're lucky if people don't know they're missing in an hour. You're lucky if they doesn't get
Well,
live streamed.
Yeah, but if you think about it, you know, like, these things do still happen. You know, you had that Jay Slater case recently.
Oh,
RIP. Jay Slater, you know,
Rest
obviously
in
he
peace, my boy.
was obviously found very recently. But, you know, child trafficking is still a thing, but not nearly to the level that it was back in the day. So I guess when it comes to these kind of grim cases, you have to look at small, very, very small positives that come out of them.
This is true. I think we should let everybody go to bed. Or continue with their days, depending on the time
whatever the
zone.
fuck you're doing, yeah.
Because
Either
we're
way,
a ways in.
we had other cases. I don't know off the top of my head. I haven't planned yet what our next 2 episodes will be.
I have a couple of ideas.
I'm
going to surprise you.
I might let Becky pick the next 2. Or next few that we do.
Oh, shit.
And then obviously, like we do after every 10th episode, we have our special episode.
I've decided what I want the special episode to be.
I think it's your go because we did Baby Deaths.
Baby Death. It was very traumatizing.
It was pretty depressing actually. That one. But it did quite well.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a lot of downloads and things of that one. But yeah, so we'll let you know. Obviously, the next this episode will probably come out. Well, we have our last episode was Elliot Rogers. That'll probably be coming out
first.
If not end of this week, it will be next week. And
honey, they're gonna get this.
Oh, as in, it'll either be the beginning of August.
There we go.
Or the week after.
There we go. You gotta remember, this isn't getting posted yet.
Yes, and then this episode 34, should be around mid to later August for you all.
But the good news is we have a plan, hopefully, to start getting some more recordings, so we might be able
a bit
to
more consistent,
up the frequency as well.
Maybe some little mini ones in there.
Yeah,
here
I'm thinking we should go back to the one long and one short system.
Honestly, with how much we end up chatting.
Yeah, and I mean, shorts never end up short. But
shorts are for us now about an hour, but we can do little mini episodes.
We could do lots of those at one sitting as well, and then you can just sporadically pop them in whenever you want to just post something.
But yeah, be sure to check Twitter and our Facebook page under the same name, BB True Crime.
Keep yourself up to date, guys.
Yeah, they get updated quite frequently, specifically Twitter more than Facebook. Also, we do links to the episodes on there as well. And like I said, all the episodes will be up on Spotify as well. And yeah, you can also access us via other podcasting platforms as well if you're more onto those kind of things.
Nice.
So yeah, that's us for tonight.
So this has been BB True Crime, looking into John Wayne Gacy.
Yeah.
It's been a journey, ladies and gentlemen.
It has.
It's been a long one.
Yeah.
I'm in need of another cup of tea. I don't know about you. You've barely finished yours yet.
No, I'm good.
Oh, you're good?
Yeah.
Right. I'm going to go get another brew. I don't know about y'all, but I do. So I will see you later. Have a nice evening, everybody. Take care of yourselves. Take care of the fam.
Take care of the kids.
Take care of the kids. Yeah. All right. That is Beth.
I am.
And I am Becky.
We
are signing off. Adios, motherfuckers.
We are. Good night, everyone.
Bye-bye.